We will begin our program shortly. In consideration of our speaker, the radio audience, and others seated nearby, please take a moment to check your mobile devices to make certain you have set them to either silent or vibrate. Good afternoon and welcome to the Akron Roundtable. I'm Stephen Schmidt, President of the Akron Roundtable Board of Directors. The Roundtable is brought to you over radio station WKSU 89.7 FM, today from the Quaker Station on the University of Akron campus in downtown Akron. The radio broadcast is underwritten by Cascade Audi. Today's luncheon program is generously co-sponsored by Buckingham Doodle and Burroughs Law Firm and the Gertrude Orr Donor Advised Fund of Akron Community Foundation, First Merit Bank trustee. Additionally, we would like to recognize the Akron Beacon Journal, Kiwanis Club of Akron, and the Greater Akron Chamber for being legacy sponsors. The Cleveland Clinic Akron General is a title sponsor for this 40th anniversary year of Akron Roundtable. First Energy Foundation and State and Federal Communications are presenting sponsors for 2016. Please mark your calendars now for our next roundtable, scheduled on Thursday, March 17th, 2016, when the Akron Roundtable will host Dorothy Ridings. Ms. Ridings is the first speaker in our signature series of speakers. The signature series invites speakers from each of Akron Roundtable's 4 decades to return to the Akron Roundtable podium. Ms. Ridings actually spoke to Akron Roundtable in both our first and third decades. Initially as the president of the League of Women Voters of the United States in 1983. And by the way, she was one of only 8 women invited to speak at the Roundtable in the entire decade of 1976 to 86. She spoke again in 1997 as the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Council on Foundations. Ms. Ridings currently serves on the Commission for Presidential Debates. Her topic will be the debate over presidential debates. To make a reservation for this or any of the Akron Roundtable luncheons, or to purchase a subscription to our luncheon series, please visit the website at akronroundtable.org. Today, the Akron Roundtable is pleased to host Dr. Renee Powell, LPGA golfer and educator. Dr. Powell's presentation is entitled Clearview, a vision of the past, present, and future. I will now ask the Honorable Judge Beth Whitmore, Judge for the 9th District Court of Appeals, to introduce our presenter. Judge Whitmore.
Thank you. I am so pleased to introduce our speaker and my dear friend, Renee Powell. Those of us in her Veterans Golf program know that she is an unsung hero. She is our mother hen who delivers laughter and high fives over our long drives, even when they're not in the fairway. She hurrahs over our brilliant putts, even if they are only inches long, or it takes many to get there. But on a more serious note, let me tell you that Clearview is a special place for women veterans. Imagine a vet who has PSD and is having a meltdown. Can you think of a better place for that person to be than with her friends in the sun on a golf course? Renee is very generous with her time for the women veterans. She provides free lessons, free equipment, free golf carts, and free counseling and advice. She wants her vets to be confident. She wants them to be at peace with the world. And that is why she has given us the special program for women veterans, which is a lifesaver to many of us. And with that, I give you a very special person, Dr. Renee Powell.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Great. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really do want to thank my dear friend Beth and Judge Whitmore for the invitation to be here today. When I arrived, I met so many young people here. I mean, people that are a lot younger than a lot of the ones here in the audience. But those in school, okay, we'll say that. But it was wonderful to see that so many have come out. And I think that I tried to get around to meet every single one of the students that's here today. I certainly hope I have. If I have not, you make sure that you come up and meet me at the end, please. I had asked several of the young ladies that I first met. I said, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you get a little older than what you are now? And many of them knew what they wanted to do, and for various reasons. One wanted to be a pediatrician. Another one wanted to be an attorney. And she even wanted to go to California. She knew where she wanted to practice. And I told her I'd just come from there and the weather was great. And then one wanted to be a chef, and that was wonderful because I told her that when she becomes a chef, I want her card because I like to eat too. And the graphic artist, which I could really use. But it was great seeing that we have young adults in the audience today. Very few of us, as youngsters, really know what we want to do when we're very young, growing up, and we don't know where life is going to take us. Or do we know what the peaks and valleys are going to be? I actually think of my dad now, and I realize that he was such a brilliant individual. And when I was growing up, when I was just a kid, he was just daddy. But now I see so many things that he has done, and so many things that he's taught me and taught so many people around the world, and how his life has touched so many people. And as I look in the audience today, I know there are a lot of people that are here today that I have met in the past, people that I know, and people that actually knew my dad. So that was great to be able to see friends of old. I'm not going to say old friends, but friends of old. So thank you all for being here today. Clearview to many people. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. How many people in this room, I would say play golf, but how many people in here actually own golf clubs? And don't be shy to raise your hands. Wonderful. Oh my goodness. That's great. Well, Clearview to many people is just a golf course along the Lincoln Highway, along Route 30 in East Canton. The golf course that they know that a black man by the name of Bill Powell built in 1946. But I really want to tell you today about Clearview and about the man who built it. And so when I had talked to Joan earlier, several weeks ago, she said, what's your title going to be? What are you going to speak on? I thought, let me come up with something. Clearview, something I know. And a vision of the past, the present, and the future. My dad is from a small town which is only 10 miles from where we live, from where the golf course is, and it's called Minerva, Ohio. And he grew up there. His family was the only black family in the town. And today he has a sister who's moved back to Minerva, lives in the house that my grandfather built back in 1921. And the town doesn't change that much. She is still the only black adult in the town. So over the 90 plus years, the town has basically remained the same. My dad, at the age of 9, in 1925, actually decided that he and a little friend sort of wandered away from home and came upon this open land that was being built, and it was a golf course. And you know, children at the age of 9, I met 2 young ladies here that are 9 years old, but children at the age of 9, you know, they're used to playing different sports. And my dad said he saw these people out there, and they were swinging these sticks, hitting these balls, it looked like they were trying to lose them, and they would walk, not run, to try to find them, to hit them again. And so he was so fascinated by that, and decided that this was something he wanted to try to do. And so he decided to take up the game of golf. Not only did he begin to play the game at the age of 9, but he also began to caddy. So can you imagine 9-year-olds caddying today? But I sort of think of it like, you know, you saw those old pictures of the Little Rascals. And I'm like, I thought my dad was like that, you know? And so he and his older brother decided that they would start the first golf team that Minerva High School ever had. And what I think is so wonderful today is that they also have a girls golf team. And I think, wow, that is because of my dad and my uncle. So my dad became the #1 player on the team, the coach of the team, and he also scheduled matches with other golf courses and other high school teams. And after high school, he really wasn't welcome at the same golf courses in the area that he played his matches on, except for the course in his home area, his hometown. And that was because he looked a lot like me, or I looked a lot like him. But as we fast forward to World War II, my dad was sent to the European theater. The European theater in Scotland and England. And if you have a passion for the game, and you're in the war, World War II, I guess the best place to go was where there's golf, the home of golf in Scotland. And if anybody's ever been there, you know that in all the small towns in Scotland and England, there are golf courses. And so on those off days, my dad was able to play golf. The members would invite him to play a round of golf and to use their golf clubs. And so he continued with his passion that he had for the game of golf. When he came back home, 3 years later, he came back and he found that things had not changed in our society back then. And he still wasn't welcome at the area courses, except for the course where he grew up. And for those of you, you know, I'm a really a great fan of history. I believe so much in education, which is wonderful. It's great to see young people here today. I believe so much in education, and I believe so much in history. And because if we know our history, then we know how much everyone in our societies contribute to our country. And I think that when we get to know our history, then we understand each other better. We have respect not only for ourselves, but we have respect for others too. And it's so important because, you know, we are all one people. We live in one society, we live in one country. And so those are things that I think are so important. But back in those days, my dad, and for those of you who may or may not know history, we had 2 armies for one country. We had a black army and we had a white army that were fighting for one country in the war. And it was not until 1945 when President Truman actually integrated our armed forces. And so as my dad came back and found that he still loved the game of golf, but wasn't able to play, he felt that he didn't want people to define who he was as an individual. And I don't think that anyone should allow anyone to define them as individuals. And so he decided that the one thing that he could do, the only thing that he could do, which was an absolutely incredible thing, was to build a golf course. To build a golf course so everyone, no matter what their ethnicity, the color of their hair, the color of their eyes, what religion they were, that they could be able to play this game of golf. And so he went back, he talked to some of his friends in his hometown of Minerva, and as I said, that My dad and his family were the only black family in town, but his friends would say that had been in War II, they'd say, "Oh, Willie." They all called him Willie. So anytime I hear anybody that says Willie, I know that they knew my dad when my dad was a kid. So they said, "Well, you can go to this bank," and he would go there. And they said, "No, I'm sorry, but there are no such thing as a GI loan." But my dad did not give up. And I don't think anybody should ever give up. And I think it's a great lesson, especially to our young people, that no matter if you have a dream, no matter what, then you follow your dream. You don't give up on what is good and what you want to do in life. And so he found a way to find land, and the land was, he found this bit of land, taught a couple of people to play the game of golf, 2 black doctors. They all put in a third of their money. My dad actually borrowed his third from his brother, his older brother, who had mortgaged his house, to give my dad his share. And so the original 78 acres my dad purchased was along the Lincoln Highway, which many of you may know that it was at one time the only coast-to-coast highway in the United States. It goes from New York to San Francisco. And so my dad began building this golf course, and literally most of it by hand, where if any of you have put in a lawn before, and you have a hand seater around your neck, and you take it and you turn it and you walk, he literally planted, walked back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, with a hand seater around his neck to build his golf course. And so he was so determined to make a difference in society, and that he did. And so the name of Clearview was actually, they're on the highest point of the land there. You can look out and you can see a clear view. And I think it wasn't just a clear view that was there for him. It was a vision, the vision of what could be and what can be achieved, what one individual in society can do to make a difference in all of society. And so in 2001, Clearview was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, one of the few golf courses in the United States to be named as such. And also in that year, it became the Clearview Legacy Foundation for Education, Preservation, and Turfgrass Research, a 501c3 charitable foundation. It is a place that through the sacrifices of my parents and my brothers that has given me an incredible opportunity. An opportunity that when I was growing up, we only had 2 traffic lights in my town, and so of East Canton, and so it's given me, allowed me to grow and to expand and to see so many other things. It allowed me to play golf as a junior golfer, and I know I met some young ladies out there who are on golf teams at school. When I was coming along, they didn't have girls' golf team in high school. Actually, they had very few golf teams for girls in college, but that has all changed, thank goodness. So it allowed me to play junior golf. I captained the women's golf team at Ohio University and later at the Ohio State University. It allowed me to play on the LPGA Tour for 13 years, to become the first female head golf professional at a private club in the United Kingdom, to design golf clothes for a major fashion house in London. It allowed me to write instructional articles for several different magazines, and to do commentating with the likes of Pat Summerall and Kim Venturi and Frank Gifford. And so golf has given me a lot, has allowed me to do a lot of different things. But more than that, it has taught me how to give back to society. And that it's so important. And that everybody can make a difference. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, you can make a big difference to someone's life. So it also allowed me to travel the world. I came from a town with 2 traffic lights when I was growing up. Now, if you go through East Canton now, we have 4. So it makes the town look bigger. It's a square, okay? But it was not that way when I was growing up. And so, who did I met? Somebody in here who said that his in-laws live in Robertsville, and they don't have a traffic light at all. That's just down the road from us. But so I traveled. I was able I've traveled to Australia 4 times, to Japan 18 times, to Africa, 25 trips to the continent of Africa, the last one to Rwanda with Betsy King and Julie Inkster. Julie, who was the last Solheim Cup captain. And without Clearview, I never would have made my most memorable trip ever. And that was a 3-week USO tour in 1971 to the war zones of Vietnam, which was something that I hold very dear to me in support of our troops. Nor would I have been able to stand on the stage in 2008, and where I received my first honorary doctorate degree at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland with my dad in the balcony. My dad had not been back to Scotland since he had been over there during the war. And so for him, and he'd never gotten to St. Andrews, so for him to be able to get out there to witness all of that, to putt on the 9th green and the 18th green, it was thrilling. So that is some of the things of the vision of the past. The vision of the present is really the fact that this year, Clearview is celebrating the 70th anniversary of when Bill Powell built the golf course. 70 years. Wow, that's a long time. And so this year, because it's such a major milestone, we're doing all kinds of events. And I think that my dear friend Betty Ryder has been passing out a brochure that for our next event, which is a Women's History Month event. But it's not just for women, it's for anyone. And it's on March 19th, and it benefits our Women Veterans Program, which is called Clearview Hope. Each year we do a program there, and so a friend of mine back in 2011 who was with the PGA of America made a phone call to me and said, Renee, you know, there are no recreational programs for women military veterans. And I said, okay. And so he challenged me to start a program. Hope meaning helping our patriots everywhere. And so I said, okay. And he said, you know, and I'm calling you because your dad was a World War II veteran, you went to Vietnam, and so you understand it. And I said, yes, I do. I said, okay. So he said, it should be a cost-free program. And I said, okay. I said, well, then that means that the PGA is going to pay for it? He goes, no. You have to find the money yourself. I'm like, what? He said, you got to find the donations yourself. So I took it as a challenge then, and I said, I'm going to do this. And so I challenge all of you to come out and attend this program to help support our Women Veterans Program. And you can do it either by purchasing a table or hosting one of our women veterans, because our veterans, everything that we do for our veterans, they pay nothing. And we have a year-round program for the women from the Vietnam era all the way to Afghanistan. A couple of Purple Hearts, and many of our women that are dealing with PTSD, but also those that are supporting those women too. So that is one of the things we do. And then we also, we're doing a bus tour later on in April 1 and 2, and I think there were some flyers that Betty was passing out too. And we're doing a bus tour in the beginning of the golf season, going to the Far Hills, New Jersey, to the USGA Museum. And over the last 2 years, the USGA, the one course that they have been hosting and highlighting is Clearview. And so outside their headquarters and their museum are 2 big 10-foot banners of my dad. And it's pretty awesome. So I thought, you know, I want the local people to know a little bit about how special Clearview is. And if you're golfers, you know that the USGA actually is the governing body for golf in this country. The USGA is the governing body for the United States and for Mexico. And then the rest of the world is governed by the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, Scotland. How's my time? 5 minutes, okay. All right, I was trying to talk fast, Steve. So anyway, so those programs are programs that we're doing. And we will, so as I said, we're taking the tour there to the RNA. So we're leaving on the 1st of April, coming back on the 2nd, and the RNA is being really, really generous, and they're doing some very special things that they never ever do for other people, which is pretty cool. And when one walks inside the museum and inside the headquarters of the USGA, you walked in the hall, and then there's a big hall, and there is a large showcase and some other things that are housing right now on loan, things from Clearview Golf Course and from our Powell family. They also this past year opened up another wing for a guy by the name of, let me see, what's his name? Jack something. I think he's from Ohio. Oh yeah, Jack Nicholas. So Jack has a room there too. He has a room. But I think, and as I think about and talk about the things that are going on currently, then we have another thing. We have a LPGA program with LPGA Golf Tournament with many of our LPGA Tour members coming for it. And the night before, a guy by the name of Franco Harris and I co-host the dinner. I'm a real big Browns fan, but I'm also a Franco Harris fan. And so, and then we give equal time to the men too. So that, well, that event is actually, it's one that anybody can participate in. It's mostly men that play, but the professionals are the women. And we have another one in August that is mostly male athletes. So, we have so many different things that are going on for this year, things with Pathway Caring for Kids, with our LPGA USGA Girls Golf Program. I do a program for people that, a golf program with people that are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, am I the pupil or am I the teacher? I have so many things on my plate sometimes, so it can be sort of comical sometimes. But for the future, my thing is that Clearview is to secure Clearview for the next 70 years. And when I look at the old course at St. Andrews, it's been around since the 1500s. And so I told a friend a few years ago, I said, and he lives in Scotland, lives in St. Andrews, and I said, Kenny, I would like to get Clearview in the same paragraph as St. Andrews. And all of a sudden, I received this honorary doctorate from the University of St. Andrews, and in 2008, actually becoming the first female sports person ever in their 600-year history to receive an honorary doctorate. And then, so he said, okay, now you're in the same paragraph. And then I said, later on, I need to get Clearview in the same sentence as St. Andrews. And then last year, oh my gosh, the most amazing thing was that the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews decided to drop their all-male rule that existed for 267 years. And they then decided to select 7 women from around the world to become their first female members. And I was very fortunate to become one of 2 from the United States of America. The other one being Louise Sykes, who was one of the founders of the LPGA, Ladies Professional Golf Association. So, my life has been, like I said, I had no idea where my life was going to go, but there have always been peaks and valleys too. So now I said, well, I happen to belong to the most favorite courses that I love, Clearview Golf Course, and then the most prestigious golf club in the world, the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews. And so they are now linked together. And last year I was over there twice, so it's sort of like a second home to me now. But that is some of the things that have happened in my life, and because of Clearview, because of the vision of my parents, but they're the ones that really, they went through so many things that they sacrificed my family so that I could be the one. And I think that we all always need to pass things forward. We need to keep things so that my mom would always say, you always have to leave the world a better world than you found it. And, I try. I have not done nearly as much as my parents have done, but I keep trying it. And so I challenge all of you to also pay it forward, to help someone. And we want to make this society, continue to make this society a better society than we found it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Dr. Powell has graciously agreed to respond to questions submitted by our audience. You may still send questions via your mobile devices using the Quail technology, and instructions for using Quail can be found in the brochures on your table. You may also submit written questions using the note cards provided at each of the tables. Please raise your cards to be collected, and Mark Scheffler, President-elect of the Akron Roundtable Board of Directors and President of Leadership Akron, will present your questions. Mark.
Great, thank you very much, Stephen. And before I start with questions, I do want to recognize some of the other youth that are with us today. And we have a number of students participating in the First Tee of Akron program. If you don't know much about the First Tee, it's a great program that integrates golf and positive character development for youth, and we're glad to have them here and their director, Frank Stams. It'll be hard to limit my questions to just a few because I love golf and I'm a bit of a leadership junkie. But what are some of the things, Renee, that you see the game of golf can teach us about leadership?
Well, the game of golf can teach us so much about leadership. First of all, it can also teach us a lot about self-confidence. And it teaches us a lot about integrity. And that's something in leadership. And, you know, the one thing that I find is that if you go out and play golf with someone, you can actually tell whether you want to do business with them. You know, I mean, if they hit the ball and they're a little bit in the rough and they hit it a couple extra times or miss it, and then all of a sudden they're on the green and you say, what did you have? And they say a 5 when you knew they had at least an 8. That tells you something about character. And so I think golf is a great, as I say, a great self-confidence builder, and also you learn so many different lessons in that.
Great, thank you. You are, without a doubt, together with your father, a pioneer for diversity and inclusion. And when you look at our society as a whole, where do you see we've made strides, and where would you say we need to focus our efforts for the progress we still need to make?
Well, you know, when I talked about the fact that my dad grew up and how he couldn't play golf at different golf courses, and the fact that you know, in the military he was you know, we had 2 separate armies. So much has changed, but a lot still has to change. And as I said, I think that education is something that you cannot cut it short. Without an education, then we don't know what we don't know, okay? And it allows us to learn that, you know, everybody is basically the same. Everybody wants, you know, we're more alike than we are not alike. And so I think everything for me goes back to learning your history and knowing what people have contributed in our total society, and that every ethnic group has contributed to our country, to make our country a very strong country. And so I think that those are the things that are important. So I just so that's why I think it's so great to see all these young people here that are in school and their teachers have brought them to today.
So your efforts to serve female veterans are laudable. What positive benefits do you see them experiencing on the course that might not be available from other services for veterans?
Oh, wow. You know, the one thing, you know, golf it's not only a recreational program, it's not a sport, but it's also very, very, very therapeutic. Unless you have to do it for a living, like I did, and then you almost need therapy. But I think that you know, just being out with nature, being safe, and that's what so many of the women have told me. They said, you know, this program, we can, you know, we feel very safe in the program. And if we're in a room with only women veterans, we don't have to say anything because everybody understands. And I think those are some things that are so key. And so you know, it's, our program is actually, if you go and look online, it's been in, they did almost a full-page story in the New York Times. Golf Channel came in for 3 days and filmed. Actually, they came here and used the facility at Akron University of Akron. And I think NBC Nightly News. So there are so many things that are just from a standpoint where women veterans feel that they they can trust the other women veterans around them. They feel very safe, they feel comfortable. When you're out with nature, it's such a healing, I think, atmosphere for everyone.
So we have a number of questions about getting or interesting youth in the game of golf, including some questions from young people, like one from a 9-year-old who says, "Do you even like playing golf?" And one is, maybe one wants to start a team, and their school said for a girls' team they could start one, but they're having trouble getting them interested. How do they get them to see past the stereotypes and see the beauty of the game? Did your dad push you to get involved in golf, or did you come by it naturally? So a number of related questions on getting youth interested in golf.
Okay. Well, I actually started walking and talking and playing golf all about the same time. My dad actually put a golf club in my hand when I was 3 years old. I still have the driver. And so, yes, I still love the game. I wish I had as much time to play now as I did before. And I also realized that playing the tour was so much easier than working at a golf course and running a golf course. Gee, we had a life of luxury on the tour, But I think that if you want to start a team at school, I think one of the best ways to start is really maybe starting it as a club sport first. And getting maybe another friend of yours to start playing golf with you. Because sometimes I grew up alone playing golf. None of my friends played golf. But I also, I was out there by myself, but I also enjoyed it by myself too. But I think that if you can get people to play with you, and if the adults in this group can also take it upon themselves, if there are children that are in your neighborhood, or if you're a teacher in school, golf, there's the beauty of the game is so wonderful. And the other thing is that in high school, there are so many scholarships for girls that go unused. And I know the cost of college keeps going up and up and up. So that's one way. And there are so many business opportunities in the game, too.
Time for just a couple more. One very thoughtful questioner says, "What does endurance mean to you? How has it affected your success?"
Oh, endurance. Oh my gosh. I really need to be healthier than I am now. I'm supposed to be walking a lot, and I haven't. However, endurance really, it's good for the mind and good for the body. And so it also helps to keep us all very, very healthy. So I remember when I was 16 years old and played in the United States Junior Girls Championship, we had to play 36 holes. I became a quarterfinalist and played the first morning round. We had an hour break and then another 18 holes. And I actually was ahead by 4 and lost 4 holes in a row because I didn't eat. And I ran out of endurance. And so that was a big learning lesson for me because we went 40 holes that day. And endurance is something that we need for everything. As I said, we need it for our minds, we need it for our bodies. And proper nutrition helps with endurance. I'm not a doctor. I mean, not that kind of doctor.
Some questioners wonder about just kind of breaking the color barrier on the LPGA Tour. Did you ever talk to Charlie Sifford for advice, or did you face discrimination issues similar to your father or other athletes who were path breaking?
I went on the tour. I played 13 years on the tour. I first went on the tour in 1967, a few years ago, and yes, I did. I've known Charlie Sifford. I knew him from the age of 12, and so many other people like Joe Lewis and Billy Eckstein, and people that I would talk to when I was this young player at the age of 12, where I was a really good player, and so I had a lot of uncles. And they would give me advice, but when I first went on tour, I knew so many of the players because I played junior golf and collegiate golf. But I did run into some nasty little situations from the outside, many ignorant people in the world, where I would, my roommate and I would go into restaurants sometimes, and Sandra Poster was she's a Canadian icon. We were roommates for a long time, and we go into restaurants, and they would serve everybody else but us. And so Sandra said to me one day, you know, Renz, I used to wonder why people wouldn't serve us. And I said, Sandra, I didn't want to tell you it's because you were a Canadian. And then things like hotels where they would lose reservations, and I had to have some of my peers stand up for me. Or and the worst things were the threat letters on my life, which were really ignorant people.
And the final question, you have a foursome that you're putting together, be it for Clearview or St. Andrews. You get your pick of any three individuals, past or present. Who are you teeing it up with?
Okay, I would tee it up with my mom, my dad, and my brother who passed away in 1967.
Dr. Powell, thank you so much for being with us today. On behalf of the Akron Roundtable, it's my pleasure to present you with a contemplative sign. As a memento of your visit with us this afternoon. This celebratory work of art was designed exclusively for Akron Roundtable by local Akron artist and craftsman Don Drum. Thank you once again so much.